she mentioned her husband by name. I don't like his side of the family, and blah 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 blah, and this, that, and the other. And so she's like, and it's not because you're black either. That was the comment that she said directly on the phone to me. So I wanted to do a video that talked about how I handled or adapted to having racist or bigoted in-laws. For those of you who don't know, my wife is Korean, and she was adopted at a very young age. She was about 16 months old, and when she was adopted from South Korea, and the family that adopted her was white. They have four children, two boys, two girls, all of which are older than my wife. The youngest boy, the youngest brother, I guess, is basically just a month older than I am. When I first started dating Noelle, it was important to her, as it would be anyone, that I met her family. And I was really excited about it because I knew our relationship was very, very serious, and I wanted to start off on a really good foot with them. So I had met with her mother and father, and I was a bit nervous, like everyone would be, you know. So I didn't really know what to expect. So I wanted to, and I asked my wife, what would be something that a gift I can bring to your mother, just as kind of like, hey, this is me, and I brought you a gift type of thing. And she's like, I don't know, just whatever you think would work for you. So I decided to plant. I know my mother likes flowers, and so I decided to bring a potted plant, a hanging basket that would work great in their home. So I brought that, and when I met her parents for the first time, it seemed like everything was okay. We sat down, talked to them. I gave her mother the potted plant. She seemed to be very receptive to that, and everything seemed fine. I didn't feel weird at all. It didn't seem like they had any issues with me. And we stayed for maybe, I don't know, an hour or so, and then we left. So to me, I felt like, okay, I got this extremely difficult part out of the way. Meeting someone's parents for the first time is always nerve wracking, and so I felt like I passed the test, so to speak. So her family at the time, and I don't know because I haven't really spoke to them in numerous years, but her family was big about gatherings. They pretty much gathered at her sister's home, almost every weekend or at least every other weekend. And it was just time for the family to get together. So Noelle was a big part of those. Noelle, my wife, was a big part of those. Prior to me, she would go all the time, and it was just a regular thing. So she asked me if I wanted to go, and I was a bit nervous because that would be meeting all of her family. So that would be meeting her older sisters who were married. One has 3 kids, the other one didn't. That would be meeting her 2 brothers. And so I was a little bit nervous because obviously having all those people there that you don't know, and I'm very introverted. I'm not really outgoing or anything like that, but I definitely will talk to people, and I feel like I'm easily approachable. Once I get to know you, then I talk your head off, and I'm just a very chill type of person. But I felt like, okay, this will be interesting, so why not? So I went to we went there, and I came in, and it just seemed like the entire house was just very cold. It was a weird feeling. And, I'm always someone who smiles, and I'm from the South, so I have a little bit of Southern hospitality. I always smile, and, always try to look a person in the eye when I talk to them and just be very much, um, just be nice, just to be me. Um, it was just really, really weird. The vibe from her brothers were not married at the time. Both of her sisters were married, and their spouses were very nice. I didn't have a problem with them whatsoever. They were very, very nice, and um, they were just okay. There was no issue. Um, the eldest sister was great. I mean, she was okay. It wasn't really much that I felt was really wrong. The other sister, which is a little bit younger than the eldest one, was just very cold. It seemed just very kind of uh, didn't really want me to be there. I mean, I guess the best way to explain it would be if you uh, knocked on someone's door and you were going to sell them magazines. It seemed like I was more of a nuisance being there than not. Didn't really want to make eye contact with me. Kind of talked at me in a way, but not really to me. Um, Definitely avoided a lot of contact. It was just very cold. Um, and then when it came to the eldest brother, he was nice. He is and still very nice. Great guy. Didn't have a problem with him. Her other brother, who is basically just a month older than I am, was the rudest of all. Um, to me, he was just very condescending. He talked down to really, it seemed like everyone there. But of course, I don't know anyone's family dynamics. I mean, what I may consider to be somewhat rude or inappropriate, obviously they may not. But to me, it just seemed kind of weird. And he obviously never made any sort of eye contact, never made any attempts to talk to me. And really, the entire family never even asked me really one question the whole time I was there. They mainly acted as if I didn't exist. Um, there was never a question, and I've yet to get this question like, what do you do for a living? Where's your family from? How many brothers and sisters do you have? I have no brothers actually, but that was never a question that was asked. How long did I live in Indianapolis? The company that I work for, how long have you been there? Did you go to college? If so, what degree did you graduate out of? I have 2 degrees, but they don't know that. So there was never a question as to who I was. It was just kind of like I was a pair of pants in a room, full of people. It just didn't seem like no one really felt the need or want to even get to know me or talk to me. So at that point in time, I'm like, okay, whatever. Her parents were there, and still kind of the same thing. It was kind of like everyone had this general distance. And I felt like, okay, this is the first time I'm meeting all of her family. That can definitely be understandable. A lot of times people, especially with families, it's difficult to get into some families. You have to kind of earn your way in, and I completely understand that. So then it was after the second, third, and fourth times of going to these family gatherings and being treated the same way, I kind of felt like, what's the point of going to these if, you try to put yourself into a position to talk to people and you're ignored, or, people just don't want to talk to you. The brother that is closer in age to me literally acted as if he was in middle school, and yet he was in his 30s. But he acted like he was in middle school. To him, it was kind of like, why are you there? Um, Now, whether he has self esteem issues or problems or issues, I don't know, but it just seemed like he was very deflective in terms of everything. And he was nurtured more. Um, I mean, just speaking to some of the people there that did talk to me, um, he just seemed like he was the golden child, and so everything was kind of like, if you did something, not a problem. And that later came out. So I didn't really know what to think. So her family also would send emails back and forth about plans that they had, in terms of if they were taking a vacation or if they wanted to do something fun, or if someone's birthday was coming up, what are some ideas and things like that. So they would kind of communicate back and forth through emails and things of that nature. And one of the emails was just in reference to me, and it was negative. I mean, Noelle shared it with me. And it was pretty much negative, and it was coming from her sisters. And it was just basically asking about me as a person. Not only did her sisters feel this way, but also her younger brother felt this way. Probably, I would say all of them to some degree, because later on in other emails that I've seen and even phone calls that I've heard, because she had them on speaker or they were talking loud enough to where if I was sitting next to Noelle, which I was, I could hear it. But they were basically saying that, it was a rush situation. How do you know that you love him? They were comparing me to her ex many, 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 many times. Even though they didn't know me, they were just comparing me to him. I never met her ex, never talked to her ex, never even really seen him, never saw him in person. But they were just comparing me to him because they didn't like him. And so her ex was a white guy, and I think that, it with that, I don't think that was the issue. I think with them, he just basically he didn't treat Noelle the best. He treated her badly, poorly, and when I first dated Noelle, that was stuff that we had to actually work through with. I felt like to me, Noelle was the person I wanted to be with, and I know everyone has their skeletons in their closet and baggage, but I felt like, hey, let's work through this problem together. So, we had conquered that issue of her ex and things that happened and all of that. But the biggest thing that held our relationship back at kind of the beginning was not only her ex and the issues that she had, but also her family, because she had dealt with a lot of stuff and stuff that I'll let her talk about, but if she feels comfortable in talking about it, but just stuff that she had to deal with in terms of her family, just numerous issues, numerous problems, things like that. And so I had noticed every time that we would go to one of these family meetings, functions, that her personality was way different. Her personality was not the same as when she was around me or when she was around her closest friends. When she was around myself and her closest friends, excuse me, she was just very much like she is now. I mean, very normal. When she was around her family, she was very bubbly and cheerful and just super happy. And there was never a problem. She literally, as soon as she walked into the door, it was just like a light went on and she was a completely different person. And I called her out on it. And I'm like, like, I don't understand why you're such a different person in front of your family. And so that was a topic she never really discussed with me until later. And so then she's like, I don't want to get into an issue with my family because it's kind of like a gang. You have all of them against me. It's like they will band together and basically point the finger back at me. So I'm like, okay. And it was somewhat true because in one of the conversations that they had on the phone, her sisters were saying, it seems like, you don't want to really come around us anymore. You're spending way too much time with him. Now, mind you, at the time, Noelle was in her late 20s. I mean, she wasn't living with anyone. She had her own place. But they just felt like, hey, why are you spending, more time with him than you are with us? And this type of thing. And, it really says something. Her eldest brother even said, well, it really says something if he doesn't want you around your family. Meanwhile, I'm pushing her to go visit her family. I just didn't want to go, I was like, hey, if you want to go and spend, a Saturday evening there, I don't want to break up the routine, do what you got to do. I just don't want to be there. I don't want to be in a place where I don't feel welcomed or I just don't want to be in a situation that is just very awkward. And it was extremely awkward. It felt very hostile, and it just wasn't something I wanted to be a part of. I'd already showed them who I was. I thought I would give them a chance to get to know me, but they didn't want to take that opportunity. So I just basically felt like I didn't want to be there. Well, then she didn't want to go because I wasn't there. And so I don't know if she felt like if I wasn't there, they would ask questions as to, well, why are you here and he's not here? I don't know if she felt like there would just be more questions or not. Or she just really wanted me and needed me there. I don't know. But I didn't want to go. So finally, I wanted to meet up with her eldest brother. He seemed to be the coolest, nicest one. And we met up and we, had coffee, I believe, and just started talking. And I told him where I was coming from, how I felt, and I was saying, just like anyone, I mean, her mother got to choose or his mother got to choose who she wanted to love. There was not someone there trying to be a puppet, and her eldest sister, her other sister, got to choose who they wanted to be with. So, who are they to tell her who she can and can't be with? What business of theirs is it? She's a grown woman. I can understand if she was a teenager, but this is a grown woman. So who are you to basically step in and basically say, hey, you know what? Spend 5 minutes with him a week and that's cool. It just didn't make sense to me. So I talked to him and he was just really cool, and he's a very open-minded person and that type of thing. And so we kind of ironed out issues that he may have had only because of things that his family kind of thought. He's always a little bit different than his family. Kind of, is just logical, basically, very logical. So, I was cool with that, and so then I had offered to meet with her the brother that's the youngest brother. And he refused. He said no because, you have to pass the test. If you want to meet with me, then be with her for a few years, then give me a call. That was his exact wording. And I said, I'm wanting to get to know you because, at that time I knew that all the things that Noelle and I had went through, talked about, she had my back, I had her back. She just seemed like a really wonderful person. I felt like this relationship was going to get really serious. So I wanted to get to know everyone. And it was just, he was not really interested at all. He's like, I'm not interested. I don't want to go. And, I don't know who you are. Who's to say you're going to be here next week type of thing. So I'm like, okay, fine. So like I said, I went and had the coffee meeting with the eldest brother, and it was great. So then he got upset with me because I went and met with him and I didn't meet with him. And I'm like, I gave you that opportunity. I'm not going to beg you, and I felt like her family wanted me to beg them to talk to them, or, if they're talking, I should run up to them and try to get into the conversation and, keep trying to win affection. And that's just not who I am. I'm the person I need to impress and win affection by is Noelle. It wasn't her family. I gave them that opportunity numerous times. So after the constant turmoil, I finally, and this was several months, I finally told Noelle, hey, you know what? I'm going to talk to your family. I'm going to call them one-on-one and just talk to them and tell them kind of where I'm coming from. The general conversation that I had with every one of them was, hey, look, you may feel that, our relationship was moving faster than what you may have anticipated or thought. We had, and, if you look back at our video that talks about, that we did with Lily, our interview, yeah, we did kind of move kind of quickly, but at that same time, we knew what we wanted. I mean, we're still together. So, and we have 2 kids, and we just knew that it was just right. So I felt like it was time for me to just talk to them. And maybe if I had the opportunity to get to talk to them and they get to know me without having their other siblings as an influence, maybe that could move something. So basically did deductive logic. I said, I'm going to talk to the easiest one first and then the difficult ones last. So I literally want to talk to her eldest brother first, her eldest sister next. Then I wanted to talk to the next sister, and then the younger brother, and then her family, because I felt like that was literally in order the most difficult one, the most difficult, from least to horrible. And that's bad to say, but it just is. And you have to see all the conversations. And keep in mind, I never delete emails. It doesn't matter. I've learned just in my professional career to never delete an email. I never delete emails when it refers to personal life, professional life, what have you. I have emails that go back 10 years. So I've always done that. Unless it's junk mail, I'll get rid of that. But any sort of communication with someone I know, I never delete an email. So, and Noelle had forwarded me a lot of the emails that were sent that were pretty harsh, that was said about me. So I knew this. I knew it, and I still have those emails. But the talking to her eldest brother was easy. It was kind of clear cut. Didn't last very long at all. Talking to her eldest sister didn't really last that long either. She thanked me just like her eldest brother thanked me for talking to them, and I felt like I achieved something. Then talking to her younger sister, which is actually older. Keep in mind, Noelle's the youngest, right? Talking to the other sister who's more difficult. It was this back and forth type of thing, but she seemed to be, her thing was just defensive. No, I felt like I've given you plenty of opportunity to get to know us, and no, I felt like I've been very cooperative and trying to provide an opportunity for everyone to get to know you, and it was that type of thing. And I had mentioned to Noelle before, and this stands out, that that sister kind of talks at me but not to me, so she never makes eye contact. And she was like, I'm sorry that I don't necessarily make eye contact with you and this type of thing. I didn't know that was a requirement. And I'm like, it's kind of a respect type of thing, like just in general. This is someone who has worked before, and if you go and do a job interview, if you never look at the person that you're talking to, the interviewer, then you're probably not going to get the job. I mean, if you have very poor communication skills, then good luck on trying to get a job. So I knew that she's educated enough to know, and I didn't see her act that way to anyone else. I saw her out with a friend, Noelle and I saw her out with a friend, at a restaurant. And when the waiter came by, she was talking to them nice and giving them eye contact and that type of thing. So I knew it was just a bunch of BS. And, but still, she thanked me for talking to her and that type of thing. So again, I thought I made some progress. Talked to the youngest brother, and again, it reminded me of the high school bully. The guy that was trying to be a bully but just didn't do so well at it. He tried to basically bring up the issue of me not inviting him out again to talk like I did with her, his older brother, and that I should be a little bit more willing to step up more and talk to them more and really buy for their attention and just kind of, just pretty much kiss their ass. And I don't do that. So I don't do that personally, and I don't do that professionally. I don't do that in any sort of circumstance. And that's hurt me in terms of jobs, maybe, in terms of moving up faster. But I just feel like, you work hard, you do your best. And I felt like in personal relationships, you work hard at it, you do your best. And I felt like I've tried to do that. And so then still, he thanked me for talking to him. Everyone thanked me for talking to them except for the parents. So I thought, okay, that was kind of rocky and rough. I expected it to be, but maybe I made some sort of a headway. The family. I call, I speak to the mother. The mother's someone who doesn't want to, if it's confrontational or she feels like you're going to accuse her of something or if you're going to talk about something difficult, she doesn't want to talk about it. She will say, I'm not talking about this right now. She'll hang up every single time. And I can understand now some of the issues that Noelle has had and her apprehension to even talk to them about how they were just treating us. I mean, it got to a point where they started to treat both of us pretty negatively when we were going to these family gatherings. So I started talking to the mom, and just instantly she was like, I don't know what you're referring to. At the time, I had an uncle that had passed away. One of my uncles that I just truly, truly love, and she had mentioned. I remember when that happened, she never asked Noelle about my uncle. She had told her that, we're not going to be able to stop by or something because, my uncle had passed, this, that, and the other, and she literally didn't care. She never said nothing about it. She never mentioned it. It wasn't. So she had then mentioned that to her mom, and her mom brought that up, and she's like, I know you feel some sort of weird way about me not inquiring about your uncle's death and this, that, and the other, and all of this stuff. And so she's like, you just have to understand, some people don't like some people. This is where I come with the point of this aha moment. I got it now. She said some people just don't like other people, and that's okay, and you have to be okay with that. She's like, and there's several people that I don't like. She had mentioned that I don't like my she mentioned her husband by name. I don't like his side of the family, and blah 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 blah, and this, that, and the other. And so she's like, and it's not because you're black either. That was the comment that she said directly on the phone to me. Now, I had never mentioned race at all to any of them at any point in time at that time. And I haven't mentioned race to any of them at all since that time. I'd never discussed race with them at all. But it started to make sense. It started to, just some of the instances kind of made sense. And it was, I guess the reason why I never really thought race was an issue was because, okay, yes, they're white, but they had adopted a child who they knew was not white. I mean, she's Asian, she's Korean. So I felt like, okay, they're open-minded. I felt like, people who adopt kids from another country, maybe they're open-minded, but that's just not always the case, And so it threw me for a loop. I was taken back by it, and I said, well, I hope it's not because I'm black. And then she started saying other things, about skin color and this, that, and the other. And so I'm like, wow. And then she was telling her husband, do you want to say something about this too? So he gets on the phone, and out of being voluntold, she definitely leads the family. There's also issues that involved, and I have to say, Noelle's dad's side of the family is very nice. But Noelle's dad's side of the family, they have not talked to. Noelle's family has not talked to for like 20, 30 years. They just don't talk to him, only because of her mom. If her mom doesn't like someone, that's it. And her issue deals with her husband's mother. Again, not my place to really talk about it, but just some of the things that I've seen and heard from Noelle's dad's side of the family, they all seem very, very nice to me. They all seem to be really, really cool. So I didn't really understand that. So then her dad said to me, like, if you're looking for a problem, then you'll always find it. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I'm not looking for anything other than to please my girlfriend at the time, Noelle. I'm trying to please her. I mean, I don't have to be having this conversation with you. I felt like, hey, it's ripping Noelle's heart apart. Obviously anyone wants the person that they really love and then their family to get along. and this not to be a wedge issue. So that's what I thought I was doing. But then he was like, if you're looking for something to be a problem, then it will be a problem, and this, that, and the other. And that made me angry. So not only did the mother confirm to me that basically race was the issue, all of the other comments and just the little subtle things that were mentioned made sense to me. It started to, because I'm like, how is it that you don't like me? And in other emails, we just don't like him. The family, and this is what the youngest sister said, the family doesn't like him. I can say we all don't like him. And when Noelle would inquire why, there was never really an answer. We just don't. That was kind of and I have those emails. So to me, it was a point of saying, I got it. Got it. Got it. Being from the South, I understand how to deal with bigots and racists. Unfortunately, I had to deal with that. It still is extremely prevalent to this day. Why? I have no clue. To me, there's bigger issues in the world for people to really rally behind than to be so preoccupied with race and skin color and stuff that really doesn't matter. Genetically, we're pretty much all the same. And I didn't really, it baffled me because here I'm thinking maybe at first I was starting to blame myself. Maybe I am, I know I'm an introvert, so maybe I'm just coming into, every time there's a little family gathering, I'm just a little bit too withdrawn. And over time, I started to just get my phone out and kind of play on it. That was back when Snake was big. So I thought, hey, I'll just play a game because no one's really talking to me. I thought, well, you know what, maybe I should have, got up more and walked into an existing conversation that has nothing to do with me and just really, just interject. But then it started to make sense to me. And it started to make sense why the eldest brother didn't subscribe to those things because of who he had dated, different races of people. He has been to different parts of the world. And so it's like, okay, that makes sense. Why he didn't necessarily share that same belief. And when Noelle and I and him and his wife went to because at the time he wasn't married to his wife, who's great. His wife and her family. Now her eldest brother's wife's family is great. I mean, they treated me with so much. I was baffled. I didn't know how to handle the situation. Like, it was so weird to be in a room with Noelle's family and then her brother's in-laws, basically, and the in-laws treated me the way that Noelle's family should have treated me. Like, they treated me with respect. They talked to me. They were just joking and laughing, and just everyone was great. And it really, I was like, wow. And before you know it, I'm sitting here having conversations. Well, I started to look and see how her family, Noelle's family, reacted, and it was kind of like, oh. And I started to realize, like, after the comment of it's not because you're black either. And her mom has also mentioned this to Noelle. Well, it's not because he's black either. One of my friends is black, and I have we have a great relationship and this, that, and the other. And all right, I hope that you enjoyed part one of this. Stay tuned to part two. And if you like this first part, please give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Put any sort of comments that you would like, and definitely make sure that if you haven't done so already, subscribe. All right, take care, and I will see you.